Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. Real quick, if it looks like there's something going on with my right eye, I've got an eye infection happening, so just ignore that. Anyway, I'm here to kick off another project, yet another project. It looks like this one's working out though so far. This is going to be the FA1M and FB1M project. I saw the pictures of the Rock Island units, and I was like, wow, those really look cool with Blomberg trucks under them. But these two units, the A unit will retain its AAR B trucks, and the B unit will get Blombergs. That's the photo I saw. I know a lot of them got Blombergs, but this one was like this, and I liked it because I like the look of the AAR B truck. So this gives me a good combination of using both of them. So I have to set the frames up, excuse me, for getting both of these trucks under them because they're going to be complete Kato mechanisms and trucks. Although the P2K, I forgot to tell you, I'm using the P2K models for this project. So although the P2K has some nice looking ARB trucks, I want to set all this up with Kato. I do like the look of the Kato trucks better. They have more heft to them, more weight, a more weighty look to them. The springs look much better in them. And although they have molded on brake cylinders, the brake cylinders look okay as they are. And I'll probably be putting individual brake cylinders on them. So we'll see how that goes. I've done it a couple times before, and it seems to work out okay. And I might even use the trucks that I've already done, just strip the paint off of them and reappropriate them for this project rather than the project they were going to be on, because the project they were going to be on is not really going to happen. Although it might happen. I don't know, so I might not use them. So we'll see. Maybe I should just go ahead and use the AARB trucks that I've pulled out from the Kato versions of it, and then do the whole build on those as well for this video, so people can see, or you can see what it takes to put individual brake cylinders and spruce these trucks up just a little bit more. So let me get the camera set up in its usual work position, and I'll go over what I need to do on these frames. Okay, so this is actually going to be the B unit. I just put the A unit shell on it because this is a junk shell that I was experimenting on, and I wanted to see how it looked, and I like the way it turns out. So that's what the A unit looks like, but the A unit will have the AAR trucks, and the B unit will have these Blombergs. So let me pull this off. So this is what the internals look like. Now I've got a motor cradle coming. I've designed it and everything. I just need to get it off to the 3D printer and get it done. I've got the B unit over here, and I'll show you that. Or, I'm sorry. This is the B unit. I got the A unit being ready to be set up over on my left here, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we've got the Kato motor in it. I've turned the flywheels down, and I'll go over all of this as I build the A unit frame and show you all these things individually. I had to experiment to make sure everything would work before I started this video, and so far everything seems to work out just fine. And when you put the shell back on here, you have a whole bunch of room above this motor, because you see how low the motor sits in this frame. There's lots of room above this motor to put speakers and DCC system and all that stuff. So let me move this aside and let's get started on the A unit. Okay, now, right now, this is what the frame looks like out of the Proto 2000 model. I haven't done anything to it other than take it apart. So that's what it looks like. These are the Kato trucks, the AARB trucks, the RS2. These are the RS2 trucks. I wish they had more in stock. I'd probably buy about 10 more sets from them just to have them on hand because I like them so much. And they're great for doing like GP35s and with trade-in trucks on them and stuff like that. But anyway, so right now as it sits, this frame will not set down on there. Probably sitting right on top of of the side frames right now. So what I've done is I was going to do some Walther's mainline FA1s like this, but I decided I had some P2K models, and I figured, well, you know what, I'm going to do the much better looking models in these because it's worth it. So I made these blocks here, and these properly space the Walther's model. So if I set them on these bolsters here, this frame, the bottom of this frame needs to be 630 thousandths off the top of the railhead. Let me move this in more. Zoom in a little bit here. I don't know. No, I think that's good. So it needs to be 630 thousandths off the top of the railhead. This surface represents the top of the railhead, so I've got the rails cut into it. So I can measure up. So these blocks here almost do it. See, I got to get these. There we go. There we go. As it sits right now, these blocks put the bottom of this frame at 640 thousandths. So I have to take 5 thousandths off the blocks. But I can't really do that and use it like that. What I need to do, and this is the start of the project, so step number 1, of course, was get the paint off the frame. What I need to do is mill off this pin and this boss here on both sides. And the reason I need to do that is because I'm going to glue a new bolster pad onto this surface. And this boss sticks up about 20 thousandths. So I need a flat surface to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate a hole on center of this pin and drill a small pilot hole through that, because I'm going to have to remake the pin. Now, I don't have any tools to figure that out. Your eyeball is pretty good at finding the center, and I did that on this frame here. This frame sits perfectly at 630 thousandths off the railhead and lines up perfectly with the KD coupler height gauge. So that works. So I know I need 630, but I can't use the same measurements for the Blomberg that I'll need for the AARs, because the bolster height is a little bit different between the two on the Kato version. So I can't just use the same from the Blomberg to the AARs. So again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate the center of these bolsters, and I'm going to drill a pilot hole, maybe like a 25 thousandths diameter pilot hole. So let me go ahead and get that done. I'm just going to get over it and put the point of my scribe and find the center and just make sure that it is, as close as center as it can possibly be. And like I said, your eyeball's pretty good at finding that. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll get that drilled out. Go. Okay, so I've got the holes started, or at least where the center of the holes need to be. So let me zoom in on this for a second here. Okay, so I first started with a 25 thousandths drill bit. Well, actually, like I showed you, I started with this scribe tool. It's actually just a small screwdriver that I've sharpened to a point. It's not really sharp, but it makes in the soft metal, it'll make the point, or the start area. And then by eye, I look and see where the center is, and then I just put a deep push down on the scribe and wiggle it around to make a center. Now, to make sure that that's as close to center as possible, what I'll do is I'll hold it in the center, and then I'll look at the frame from side to side and end to end to see if the point looks like it's in the center. When it is, I'm happy with that, and I'll come in with the 25 thousandths drill bit, and I'll drill it a little bit deeper, and I'll do the same thing again. I'll put the drill bit in the hole, and then I'll look at it from side, and I'll look at it from the end. And if it looks like it's in center, I'm happy. Then I'll come in with a center drill by hand, and I'll open that hole up. And this is where you can adjust if you're off just a little bit. So then I'll drill it down just a little bit, take a couple turns out of it, and then I'll hold this here and I'll look at it on the side and on the end. And if it's not in center, if it's slightly off, I can always angle the center drill in the direction I need to go, do a few turns, and then as I'm turning, straighten it up again. And that'll reposition the center of the hole. So right now these are pretty much, I would say, dead on center for each of these holes, looking at it and stuff like that. So now I can take this over to my drill press. Actually, my drill press vise doesn't fit this width of the frame. So I'll take it over to the mill, put in my drilling attachment, and I'll drill a 25 thousandths hole all the way through. All right, so I've set my mill up with a quick change or collet setup. So all I have to do is unscrew this. Right now I've got a 1/8 inch collet in there. See, it's an 1/8 inch collet. And this is my drilling attachment, basically. It's spring loaded. And it's got a 1/2 inch shank, so I just put the 1/2 inch collet in there. And put it on there. Put this up in there and just tighten it down. So now I can drill by just lowering it by hand. So let me get the frame set up in the vise and we'll drill that out. All right, so now the first thing I'm going to do, since I used the center drill to locate the hole, where the hole is going to be, I'm going to use it again just to locate where the center of the column is going to be on that. So what I can do is I can lower it down, and you see it doesn't go into the hole. It hits the side. So what I'll do is I will just move the wheel in a little bit till it falls into the hole. Now I need to move it in on the Z-axis. Till everything just goes in easy. So now that's centered on the column. So if I turn it 90 degrees, whoop, it's just a little bit off. There we go. Now everything's centered. Now I can get my 25 thousandths drill bit. Since I'm just moving the column up and down, I don't have to worry about it going off of center. So I can take this bit out. Get my 25 thousandths bit. And I can lower the column down. And now I want to see if the bit flexes any as it goes in. And it's right at the point. It's right at the point of where the center drill was. There, I got that started, so I want to use a little bit of oil. This is just plain motor oil. And get my cleaner brush out. And that's all the way through. Now I'll just get set up for the other end, and I'll do that off camera, but I'll do the same thing on the other bolster. All right, now that I've got the holes drilled, I can cut that pad off. Now the reason I drilled it with a 25 thousandths drill bit rather than going ahead and sizing it up to what the pin size would be, because I'm going to have to drill through the bolster as well. And it's much easier to relocate the center of a hole with a smaller drill bit, because you can see it flex more when you're trying to find the center than it is with a larger drill bit. Also, it'll be easier to drill through the new brass bolster block that I'll be building with a smaller drill bit than a larger one. So it'll be more precise. So that's why I use the 25 thousandths drill bit. So right now I'm using an 1/8 inch cutter, and I'll just cut that circular pad down, the pin and the circular pad down to where the bolster is located. Okay, so there you see the bolster is now level all the way across here. So now I have a surface that I can glue a brass block to. So I'll rebuild that measure and rebuild that up. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side, and then we'll go over and get the measurements for the brass block. Okay, before I forgot one step. Before I go back to measuring how high I need to make the brass block and stuff like that. Another thing that needs to be milled out, you see this angle right here for the worm gear or the gear tower to fit through? Well, the Kato gear tower, that's a little too narrow for it to swivel properly. So all I need to do, let me get my pointer real quick, is I need to open it up from here straight back. So I'll just use the 1/8 inch cutter, come right into here, cut all the way through, and then walk it this way. Same with this side, cut it through and walk it that way. So let's get that done. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to find this back edge, and then I'm going to move it in till it touches this edge, and then just move it back. And there it is. Now I've got the opening wide enough for the Kato gear tower to fit to. Also, you saw that I cut off this rounded part that was back here. That's because that's too close to the worm gear cover, or I mean to the gear tower and where the worm gear is, and I needed some more clearance there, so I just cut that off. I'll probably, when I get done with the bolster, cut this front portion off as well. All right, so now I've got these openings cut out. Of course, I've got the bolsters trimmed down so it's flat all the way across. And while I was at the mill, I took the liberty and opened up this area as well. This frame was built as like a Athearn clone, where you have the metal strip coming up and there's a metal base that contacts the frame, so your pickup is off the frame. Well, one of these sides is closed in a little bit so that you can only put the trucks in one way with that metal clip coming up through here. So there's a little bit extra metal on one side. So I just opened it up so it's even on both sides. So I've taken care of that. Now it's time to set up the how tall I need to make the brass block. So what I'm going to do, I have to move this over to the side so it's closer to the edge, so that I can, actually I just have to move it forward a little bit so it's closer to the edge so I can see what's going on. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this on the bolster, and I'm going to set this on the bolster, and now I'm going to measure from the top of the tool piece to the bottom of the frame, and it needs to be 630 thousandths. So you're not going to see this on camera. All I'm going to do is use a steel ruler or a steel scale and measure up 630 thousandths. Okay, so measuring from the surface plate here to the bottom of the frame, I come up with 620 thousandths. So I only need to add an additional 10 thousandths to the thickness of these blocks. Now these blocks measure right now 146, so I only need to go to 156 thousandths. So I'm going to get all set up to cut some brass. Okay, so as in the last session, we've got everything cut. So now I needed to make the bolster blocks. And there was nothing to show on video cutting these, or just squaring them up and cutting them to size so that they fit in here. And I've already done the measurement, and using the gauge, everything sits at exactly the right height for the coupler. So we're dead center on the coupler for the KD height gauge, coupler height gauge. So now what I want to do is well anyways, let me rephrase that. I don't want these bolsters sitting down below the frame like you see here. Now they're going to sit down below the frame because they have to create the height for the frame off the truck and stuff. But I don't want this sharp edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at an angle, and to get what I need to cut, what I'll do is I'll measure let me zoom in this a little bit here, pull this back. I'll measure the width of these bolster bumps here, and then go just a little bit outside of them, and I'll mark that across here. Then what I do is I'll take this scriber and set it right, let me get this lined up here, right there, and I'll just put the point right on the top of the frame there, and I'll just scribe it right across. And we'll do that on the other side. All right, I already did it on the back one. So then what I'll do is, I still have to measure this here, is I'll measure that into here, and then I'll connect a line from the line I scribed here on this end with the line I scribed on the top, and then I'll put it in the vise at an angle using a straight edge to line that up, and then just cut it right across and I'll have the angle cut. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I can glue those into the frame. Okay, I've got the new bolsters cut, and I've got the edges chamfered so they come down to the frame on both sides. So now what I'll do, and I've got them cut the width of this bolster here. So now what I'll do is I'll drop some CA in there and glue these in. So it's as simple as putting some drops of CA there, making sure this bolster piece is lined up with the pad that's already there, and then just squeeze it down. So I'll get that done, and then we'll go drill the new hole. All right, so I've got the bolsters glued in, and when I set this down on the trucks, I found another issue I had to take care of. It was really easy, and it fixed it. Is I put the draft gear boxes in place, and I put the frame in at a 45-degree angle. I have this triangle here, so I put that in the vise, put that on there, put it in at a 45-degree angle, and just cut the draft gear boxes at 45-degree angle, and that cleared this end of the truck right here. Because it was, without doing that, it was sitting on top of that, but now it just clears nicely. And with this setting right here and that setting right there over the bolsters, everything's perfect. So now let me just do a quick check on my frame to see if it's at 630. What do we got here? 630 and 630. So we're good to go on this. Now what I need to do is drill down through these holes, pilot holes that I made earlier, through the brass. So I'll get all that set up and we'll get that done. Okay, I lined up the spindle with the hole using the 25 thousandths bit because that's what the hole was. And now I've got a jobber bit in there that's 28 thousandths, and I'll just go all the way through. I'm not going to take big cuts. It's going to be in, out, just short, small cuts, so I don't pack up the bit. And there we're through. And now it's drilled all the way through. And I'll go ahead and get this side done, and we can start working on making the pins. Well, I figured since I've already got this set up with the spindle in line with the hole in the bolster, I may as well go ahead and drill this out to the size that I need. So I'm going to step the drills up. So this is a 28 thousandths, and I'll go into the 30s and the 40s and then the 50s and then the 60s, 70s, 80s, and blah, 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 and onward. The final size will be 100 thousandths because I'm going to use a 100 thousandths pin, and then I'll CA this into the bolster. But the hole in the truck bolster is only 93 thousandths, I think. Let me check that again. I think that's what it was. Yes, it was 93 thousandths. So I need to open up that hole a bit, so I have a 104 thousandths drill bit here that I'll open that hole, and I'll give a little bit of play for the bolster and all that to move around some. If it's not enough, I'll go up maybe to 106 or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and step drill this up. I don't think you need to see that. It's just changing bits out, drill through, change bits out, drill through, change bit out, drill through. So that's what I'm going to do for this end, and then I'm going to go over to this end and do the same thing. Oh, real quick, To drill this hole out, you want to take the truck apart because there's gears right underneath it and you don't want to go through and mar the gears. So I'll take the truck apart, and then with all the gears out and the frame and the gear towers split and all that, I'll drill through it. So let me get all this done and we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out the trucks. I've already done this one, and this is the 100,000th pin, and it just fits in there real nicely. So we'll do this one, and drop that on the floor. The only reason I'm showing this because some of you might want to do something like this, and I want to show you how to take these trucks apart. Now everybody knows that there's a bottom clip, so we just got to. That's the first thing you take off is the bottom clip. Now then you can pull these side frames off, and then drop the wheels out. Now these gear towers do not come apart in halves. The most important thing you need to do is get this gray gear out of there. So to do that, just a second, this one's missing a gear. I have to put a gear in this one. When I open this one up, this one's got an extra gear in it. I'm like, okay, so I need to get a gear in that one. Anyway, so to get this gear out, I just put the screwdriver in there, pry it out like that. Just make sure you do not touch these bearing surfaces, the pins on the ends. Otherwise you'll mar them. So now that that's out, I can take my 104 thousandths drill bit and just clean it out. And then what I do to open it up a little bit more, I just wiggle it and like do it in a round pattern and open that hole up a little bit more, and you'll get the nice opening in there. All right. Yep, there we go. Okay, now we can put these back together. Just pop that gear back in there. Now I'll probably be taking these apart again when I grit blast for painting. Put that in there. Put the side frames back on. That, put the bottom clip back in, and the truck's all back together. So that takes care of that. So I've got these holes all drilled, and now it's time to make the pins for them. Now, the pins, if I remember correctly, these are 300 thousandths. Almost, it's 270 thousandths from top to bottom. On the Blombergs, I believe they were 300 thousandths because I made this to cut the pin length. Yes. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to sand these pins a little bit so that they will go through. Since this hole is 100 thousandths and this pin is 100 thousandths, it's going to be a little bit of an interference fit. So I just need to sand this a little bit so it'll go through. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my lathe, and I'm going to cut the end square, and then I'm going to slightly round it. Not all the way, but just basically fillet the corner. Or fillet the edge and give it a nice smooth surface so it's even all the way around, because it's got to stick out about 60 thousandths off the face of this. All right, so there we have it. We got the pins installed. They stick up from the bolster 65 thousandths, and when I put them on the trucks, they do not interfere with any of the gears. So everything is nice and solid. And I like how these trucks look under this frame. They fill in that space much, much better. I have to dig the worm gear covers out and then modify them so they go on. But before I do that, there's one other thing I need to do, but it'll be in the next video because this takes care of this. Finishing the pins takes care of getting the trucks on and takes care of what's going on in this video. But I will have to use a ball end mill and cut a circular notch right in here and in this bridge in order for the worm gear to pass through freely. So we'll take care of that in the next video. We'll take care of the worm gear covers in the next video. And when the motor mounts come in for the Kato motors, then we'll dive into this area here. Okay, so that wraps up this video. I think I got a lot accomplished on this, and these things do work. I mean, I've already proven it on this one that everything will fit and work properly. The motor is in line with the worm gears and all that, so I think everything's going to work just fine on that. The hood fits, or the shell fits on fine and stuff, and the same thing is starting to pan out with the one that I worked on for this video. I like how the trucks tuck up underneath there and really fill in that space very, very nicely. So we'll be moving on. Like I said, I need to wait till I get the motor casing or the motor cradles in so that I can start getting everything finalized and set up. Then I can work on the electronics. Once the electronics are in, the sound, the speakers, the DCC board, and everything's working, then I'll move right into the detail work on the shell and things like that. So other than that, I have to wait for the motor cradles to come in. So I've got some time. I have to send off a file to, I'm trying a different printer, and we'll see how that goes. And I got the same thing coming in from Shapeways that I'm going to send to this printer, and I want to compare them. The one thing that I don't like about Shapeways is how long it takes to get stuff back. You're talking about at least a half a month from the moment you purchase it to when you get it, approximately. And that's the nature of the beast, I guess. But I'm going to try this new company and see how things go. The thing that I do like about Shapeways is its ease of uploading your files and choosing the materials you want and stuff like that. But I'll see how this new company is, how quickly the turnaround time is, the quality of the prints. And granted, the stuff that I'm doing at Shapeways and stuff, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's all hidden. It needs to be more functional than ornamental. So we'll see how things go with that. And in the meantime, I am going to probably work on some freight cars, get the shells for these models stripped. Right now, yesterday I finished this car. It's ready for weathering. I really like this car a lot. It's not a real railroad. Somebody on the Atlas forum posted a photo of this car that they did and stuff, and I really liked it. So I wrote him and asked him if I could use the artwork, and he was kind enough to send me the artwork. So I used the road name and stuff, but I changed the fonts on the lettering there. The fonts he was using was it was kind of like typewriter font, and I needed something that was more realistic for railroad font like. So that's all I did. I didn't change any of what the text is. I just changed the font. I did add this little ownership label up here, and I did add the repacking here, and I did change the build date, like as if it was shopped and they painted it out and stuff like that. But that's about it. So I really, really like the way it turned out. So I need to weather that car, and I'm working on this car. I like this car a lot. It's turning out great. The chipping's done. I did the pin wash on the roof so far, and now I need to do the ends, and then I can do the sides. But I really like how this car is turning out and stuff, so I'm excited about getting this one done. After I get the pin washes done on this one, I will shoot a flat finish over it and then put a wash, like a thin wash, over the whole thing, and that'll pretty much be it, and then weather the underframe and stuff like that. So I've got things to do. I've also got 6 SD38-2s I got 5 of them are stripped and ready to be worked on. 2 of them are in the strip tank, and this week I'll get those out and get them all grit blasted and ready to be worked on. So I'll have 6 SD38-2s. Those are going to be long-term projects. You know, I'm not going to do them all right away. I want to get these FA1Ms done. I really like these. These FA1Ms are not going to be Rock Island. They're going to be for my railroad and such. And then I've also got I bought a whole bunch of coil hoods, and I had these gondolas, and I didn't know what to do with them. And last night I pulled out the hoods and the hood or the coil racks, and everything fits in this car real nicely. So I got 5 of these cars, or 4 of these cars that I can do later on. This is going to be a future project as well. So I've got a lot going on and stuff. So plenty to keep me busy, but I need motive power. Oh my gosh, I need motive power to pull all these cars. So I got to get these FAs done. After the FAs, I think I'm going to work on a couple of GP7s, Atlas GP7s. By the way, the Atlas Kato GP7s, I looked at the Stewart Kato F units, and the gear towers on those have the same part number stamped on them as the GP7s do. So what that means is if you've got spare Stewart Kato F unit trucks, you can put those under the Atlas Kato GP7s and have better looking trucks. The Atlas Kato GP7s have molded on brake cylinders, and the swing hanger is molded on. But the Stewart Kato stuff is all separate, like the GP35s. So I just ordered a couple parts models off of eBay, so I got enough for 2 Atlas Kato GP7s. So I'll be working on those. And I still want to get done with my GP28s that I had started. So I got those to work on too. So I got plenty to keep me busy, and I do want to do an F unit. Whether it's going to be that FP7 project coming back to life or a Stewart Kato F3 or F7 or something like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the all the milling and the work being done on this frame and everything was entertaining and things like that. So we'll continue on this. I really am looking forward to getting this project done. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.